The suitcase hit the marble floor with a crack that echoed through the entire east wing. Adrian Mercer didn't flinch. He sat in his wheelchair at the center of the master suite, hands on his armrests, watching his wife move from wardrobe to bag with the controlled efficiency of someone who had been rehearsing this moment for months. She didn't look at him. That was the part that hurt most. Not the packing, not the sound of hangers scraping against the rod, not even the fact that she was doing this at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night. It was that she couldn't even look at him. Diane. His voice was steady. He had spent the last 3 months learning to keep it that way. Don't. She pulled a row of dresses off the rack without breaking stride. You're not even going to talk to me. She stopped, turned, and when she finally looked at him, there was no anger in her face, which was somehow worse than if there had been. There was just a flat, finished expression, the look of a woman who had already had this argument inside her own head 100 times and was done having it out loud. I didn't marry a man who can't even stand on his own, she said. The silence after it was absolute. I'm still the same man you promised to love, Adrian said. She picked up the suitcase. No, you're not. She pulled the second one off the bed. The man I married never needed anyone for anything. That was the point. So this is about my pride or yours? It's about my life, Adrian. Her voice cracked. Not with grief, but with the particular frustration of someone who has been waiting to say something for too long. I had a life, a real one, and then all of this happened, and I've been standing here, watching you fall apart, and I won't do it anymore. Fall apart. He let the words sit in his mouth. You think I chose this. I think you've given up. I have not. You sit at that window every single day. She zipped the first case, hard. You don't take calls. You don't respond to your board. You fired 3 therapists. You are disappearing, and you're asking me to disappear with you, and I'm telling you I won't. The door to the suite was open. Standing just beyond it, half in the corridor shadow, was Imani, the maid who had been with the household for 6 weeks and had learned very quickly to move quietly through rooms where things were breaking. She had come to turn down the bed. She stayed completely still. Adrian saw her. He didn't send her away. Walk out that door, he said to Diane very quietly, and don't come back. Diane picked up both bags. That's the first decisive thing you've said in 3 months. She walked out, her heels on the marble, sharp, precise, final. The front door of the mansion opened and closed. The suite was silent. Imani took 1 step backward into the corridor, meaning to leave, meaning to pretend she had never been there. Don't go, Adrian said. Not a command. Something closer to a request. She stopped. He looked out of the window. City lights below. A sky without stars. Is it that obvious? He asked. That I've given up? Imani was quiet for a moment. Then she said carefully, You're still here, sir. People who've truly given up don't stay. He didn't respond, but something in his jaw shifted. If that opening just stopped you in your tracks, this channel is where stories like this live. Subscribe right now. Hit the bell and drop a comment below. Do you think Diane was right to leave, or was she wrong? And if this story already has you feeling something, like the video. Let's keep going. 3 years earlier, Adrian Mercer had been the most talked about name in tech. Not the loudest, not the most theatrical, the most precise. He had a reputation for walking into situations that experts had declared dead and leaving with something that worked. Mercer Technologies had started in a rented office with secondhand equipment and 4 people who believed in him before there was any reason to. By the time he was 38, it was valued at $4 billion, employed thousands, and had made the cover of 2 different business magazines in the same calendar year. He met Diane at a charity gala. She was the kind of woman who looked exactly right in every room, who moved through crowds like she'd designed the layout herself. She was intelligent, sharp-tongued in a way he found attractive, and entirely clear about what she wanted from life. He respected that. He thought for a long time that it was one of the things he loved most about her. Their marriage was the kind that generates photographs, vacations, galas, profiles in glossy magazines. They looked from the outside like proof that success was a complete experience, a life that had everything arranged correctly. Then the accident. It was an ordinary Wednesday. That was the detail that stayed with him longest. Not the sound of the impact, not the other driver's face, Not even the smell of the hospital, but the simple fact that it was a Wednesday. He had a 3 o'clock meeting. He had been thinking, at the moment of impact, about a quarterly report. The car came from the left. He never saw it. He woke up 2 days later to a ceiling he didn't recognize, and a pain that was both everywhere and, terrifyingly, nowhere below his waist. The spinal cord injury was severe. The neurologist explained it with charts and careful language and the particular neutrality of someone trained to deliver devastation without adding to it. Significant damage, partial paralysis, recovery possible, but intensive and uncertain and long. Diane sat beside his bed and held his hand and told him it would be okay. She said it with conviction. He believed her. That was the last time he believed her, as it turned out. The first months of rehabilitation were the hardest of his life, not because of the physical pain, though that was considerable, but because of the particular humiliation of learning to do things from scratch, things he had not thought about since childhood. The body that had always obeyed him was suddenly a negotiation. Every small progress cost something. Every setback cost more. Diane came to the first therapy session. She sat in the corner of the room on her phone and left after 40 minutes because she had a lunch that couldn't be moved. She came to the second session briefly. She sent a message about the third. After the fourth, she stopped mentioning it. He noticed. He said nothing. She stopped being seen with him in public. It started with excuses, scheduling conflicts, prior commitments, and slowly settled into a silence on the subject that they both understood, but neither named. Their home, the sprawling Mercer estate that had once hosted events and colleagues and the constant noise of a full life, became a place of closed doors and careful avoidance. "This isn't the life I wanted," she told him one evening, just like that. No build-up, no argument leading to it. She said it across the dinner table the way someone states a fact they've been sitting on too long. He looked at her. "And what life did you want?" "Not this one." She was gone within the week. The divorce papers arrived by courier on a Friday morning, hand-delivered, because she had never done anything casually. And then, the mansion was quiet in a way it had never been before. The staff moved carefully. Business partners sent emails and stopped when he didn't respond. Friends called twice and then, by silent consensus, decided that twice was enough. The board of Mercer Technologies held meetings in his absence and began making decisions around him the way water finds a root around a stone, efficiently, without malice. Simply because it was easier. Adrian sat at the window. He didn't fire his fourth therapist. He simply didn't call back to reschedule. He had been, his entire adult life, a man defined by his capacity to solve things. And here was something he could not solve. Not with intelligence, not with capital, not with the force of will that had built $4 billion from a rented room. The body simply did what it did. The injury was what it was. And the woman who had promised to stand beside him had packed 2 suitcases on a Tuesday night and walked out on her own heels. Imani had been hired 6 weeks before the separation. She learned the house quickly, its rhythms, its requirements, the things that mattered and the things that only appeared to. She was 26, efficient without being mechanical, and had a quality of attention that was rarer than people recognized. She noticed things without making the people she noticed feel observed. She had grown up watching her grandmother navigate the world from a wheelchair after a stroke at 61. She knew what it looked like when a person's body changed and the world changed its behavior toward them. She knew the difference between help that dignified and help that diminished. She had learned that difference young, at her grandmother's kitchen table, being told, "You help someone by standing beside them, not in front of them." She found her approach to Adrian Mercer almost by instinct. She spoke to him normally, not with the careful softness people used around him now, that particular gentleness that was really a kind of condescension, but the way she'd speak to any intelligent adult who deserved a straight answer. When he asked a question, she answered it. When she disagreed with something, she said so. The first time she did it, pushing back mildly on something he'd said about the household schedule, he stared at her for a long moment, as if recalibrating. "You're not afraid of me," he said. "Should I be?" He thought about it. "Most people are." "Most people," she said, "are afraid of what you represent, not who you are. Those are different things." She helped him through therapy on the days his nurse was unavailable, not performing the exercises but assisting, steadying, counting, handing him what he needed, staying in the room while he worked through the parts that were humiliating. She didn't look away. She didn't fill the silence with encouragement he hadn't earned. She was simply there, which was, he was learning, one of the most radical things a person could offer another person. She cooked his meals herself on weekends, not because it was strictly her job, but because she had noticed that he ate better when the food meant something. She learned his preferences without asking directly through observation and small adjustments. One evening, she set a plate down in front of him, and he looked at it and said, "My mother used to make this." "I know. Mr. Fenwick mentioned it." He looked up at her. Something moved across his face that she couldn't quite name. "Why would you do that?" Imani met his eyes. "Because you matter. Not your name. Not the company. You." A pause. "People have been forgetting that lately. I'm choosing not to." For a moment, he said nothing. Then, "You may not be able to walk yet, but you're still a king in your own house." He repeated her own words from a week earlier back to her quietly. "I meant it then," she said. "I mean it now." He pushed back from the table slightly. His jaw was tight, but not with anger, with something that was trying very hard not to be gratitude and failing. "Don't make it a habit," he said, "saying things that are true." "I'll try to restrain myself," she said, and turned back to the kitchen. He ate every bite of the meal. It was the first time in weeks he had. The bond between them grew in the way that real things grow, without announcement, through accumulated time and shared weight. He began to talk to her, not about small things. He had never been interested in small things, but about the company, the board decisions being made without him, the particular fear of watching something he'd built begin to move beyond his reach. "Call them," she said one afternoon after he'd finished explaining a strategic pivot the board had approved that he believed was short-sighted. "I'm not in a position. You are the position, sir. You built that company. Sitting in that chair doesn't change what you know." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he picked up his phone. He called his COO. The call lasted 2 hours. The board decision was reversed within the week. Imani watched him come back to himself like a tide returning, gradually, measurably, with force. He started taking calls in the morning. He began attending virtual board meetings. He requested documents, reviewed contracts, asked hard questions of people who had gotten comfortable in his absence. The company steadied. Revenue improved. The name Mercer Technologies reappeared in the business press, this time with language about resilience and adaptation. He got stronger physically too. Not dramatically, not all at once, but steadily. His arms, always powerful, grew more capable. His tolerance for the therapy increased. He started pushing further, staying longer, refusing to stop at the first wall of discomfort. Imani was there for most of it, and she had a gift for knowing when to say something and when the most useful thing was silence. "Why do you stay?" he asked her one afternoon after a session that had been particularly brutal. She handed him a towel. "What do you mean?" "This isn't what you were hired for. None of this is. You could do your job and go home, and you'd never have to be in this room watching me try to remember how to walk." She folded her arms, considering the question as if it deserved a real answer. "My grandmother couldn't walk for the last 11 years of her life," she said finally. "And the people who stayed in the room with her, who actually stayed, who didn't disappear into their own discomfort, those were the people who changed what her life meant." She paused. "I want to be one of those people, not for you specifically, just in general. I want to be someone who stays." He absorbed that. Then, "She was lucky, your grandmother. She was. And so are you, though you won't say it yet." He almost laughed. It came out as something between a breath and a sound. But it was there. She was still smiling when she left the room. He sat with the almost laugh for a while and decided it was enough. It was 7 months after Diane had left when her car pulled back into the estate. Imani saw it from the upstairs window first. She recognized the car immediately. She had cataloged everything about the weeks before the separation, the way a person quietly prepares for weather. She said nothing and went downstairs. Diane walked in as if she still had the right to. She had a new haircut and a different energy. Not the finished flatness of their last conversation, but something recalculated. She swept through the entrance hall and found Adrian in his study, on a call. the desk covered in documents that had not been there 7 months ago. He ended the call when he saw her. "You look better," she said. "You look like you want something," he replied. She sat down without being invited to. "I've been thinking about us." "There is no us, Diane. You filed the papers." "I filed them. I haven't signed the final settlement." She crossed her legs. "I've been hasty. I think we both acted from a place of—" "Stop." His voice wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. "Tell me the real reason." She held his gaze for a moment. Then, "The company is performing again. The press is writing about you again." A pause. "I was wrong about what I thought the future looked like." "You mean you were wrong about whether I was worth staying for?" "Adrian, no." He leaned forward slightly. "I want you to hear this clearly. You left when I was at my lowest. You walked out of this house carrying 2 bags on a Tuesday evening, and you told me I had given up. And while you were gone, I rebuilt. Not for you, not to prove anything, for myself." He held her gaze. "You don't get to come back now and stand in the light of that." Diane's expression shifted. Her eyes moved to the doorway, where Imani had appeared with a folder of papers Adrian had requested, oblivious, or appearing to be. "Her?" Diane's voice dropped into a register that was meant to wound. "You replaced me with the maid?" Imani looked up, set the folder on the side table. She didn't flinch, didn't color, didn't shift her weight. She looked at Diane with the same steadiness she brought to everything. "I didn't replace anything," she said simply. "I stayed. Those are different things." Diane's jaw tightened. She stood. She looked between Imani and Adrian, calculating, recalculating. "You'll regret this," she said. "I regret enough things," Adrian said. "Letting you go was not one of them." She left. No luggage this time. She'd walked in with nothing and walked out with nothing, which felt to both of them like a kind of justice. The silence after the door closed was different from the last time. Lighter, like a window opened in a room that had been sealed too long. Imani picked up the folder from the side table. "Your 3 o'clock papers," she said as if nothing had happened. He looked at her. "Imani, sir." "Thank you." He said it plainly. No performance, no elaboration, just the plain weight of it. She nodded. "Don't mention it." She turned to leave. "I mean it," he said, and his voice was different now. Not the measured control of a man managing himself, but something underneath that, something unrehearsed. "Not just today, all of it. When everyone looked at me and saw a broken man, you saw a human being. That changed things. That changed me." She turned back. Her expression was open, unguarded in a way she usually kept private. "You were never broken," she said. "You were just waiting for someone to see that." He stood, not fully, not without effort. He gripped the desk and pushed himself to standing and held it. Held it for 10 seconds, 12, 15, his legs shaking, his face set with the concentration of someone lifting the whole weight of the last year. Then he sat back down. "I'm going to walk out of this room," he said. "Not today, but soon." "I know," she said. "I'll be here when you do." Neither of them said anything more. There was nothing more to say. Outside the study windows, the city went about its business, indifferent, moving, alive. And inside, 2 people sat in the quiet of something just beginning. Sometimes the people who leave reveal the truth about love. And sometimes the people who stay become the greatest blessing of all. If you made it to the end of this story, you are the reason this channel exists. Subscribe right now, ring that notification bell, and drop a comment telling me, was Diane wrong to leave, or did she have a right to walk away? Like this video if Imani deserved everything that's coming to her. Share it with someone who needs to believe that the right person stays. And come back for the next episode, because this story, it is far from over.